Relationships are really hard. What we expect from them, what we think they expect from us, how we offer ourselves in a relationship, what we can ask and what we can't ask for. These are constantly in all of our minds. How do we navigate their expectations and our expectations of what being together as parents, as siblings, as cousins, as friends should feel like? Our conversation today is about a hard relationship between a parent and a child. Sometimes these are really hard to listen to, so please take care of yourself as necessary. And yet, I think Natalie brings us a really interesting question and opens up a space that touches all of us and makes us wonder, what are we expecting? I'm Mauricio Bruce, and this is The Real Question. Hi, Natalie. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Mauricio. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited for you to be here too. So if you've been listening to the show over the past couple of months, you know that we start this show by me asking you if you could tell me anything about yourself. What would you like to share?
So I think a lot of aspects of my childhood, where I was raised, how I was raised, really shapes me to who I am. But I think one detail that is maybe not as common and I love to share with people is that I grew up in a pretty small rural town. And an aspect of that is that there's really not a lot of light pollution. A lot of times you could see the Milky Way even from my driveway. And I think some of my really fond memories were of being able to see the summer meteor showers just from like my bedroom. Nowadays, I don't get to see that as much unless I explicitly go out camping and maybe it's like a new moon or the moon hasn't risen yet that I get to see something like comparable to what I've seen when I was a kid.
Wow. I'm really excited that there are still places in the world that are like that. I hope there's still places in the world that are like that, where you can still go and just see the sky as it is rather than as we've turned it. Thank you for sharing that, but I want to save as much time as I can for the question you've brought us. And so I'm just going to ask you, what's your question?
So my question is, should I invite my dad to my wedding? And to some extent, should I try to repair my relationship with him? So to frame this question, I'll say that throughout my life, particularly in high school and college, my relationship with him was really fraught and quite honestly awful. He comes from a culture of really valuing filial piety, which for him meant extreme obedience, especially to your parents, to your elders. And after years of trying to change my behavior, follow his demands, be a good daughter, what he thought that was, I let go of trying to do that. And that was with the help of a lot of therapy, to be honest. In the past 7-8 years, our relationship has been in kind of a limbo. I guess I've put in a boundary. I'm not sure if he's aware of it, but I don't really engage with him much. It's low contact, I would say. I don't really keep in touch, and he's not actively engaging with me either. So as a consequence, we aren't fighting so much. The thing is, though, I am getting married this fall, and I feel like this is an event that could really set the tone for the rest of our relationship, or at least for the rest of his life. And I've tried for most of my life to understand him, to understand where he was coming from, try to take his harsh and cruel behavior as a way that he was trying to help me or raise me the best way that he knew how. But I had to stop eventually, I think, for my own sake. On the other hand, I'm really worried that by not inviting him, obviously it will cause a lot of drama and a lot of upheaval before and after the event, to be honest. But I think it also will mean that it's cementing the end of another relationship amongst other relationships he no longer has.
Okay. Natalie, let me start by saying thank you for bringing this question. I feel like you're already being so vulnerable and like this is such a sensitive question, and I really appreciate you trusting me to hold this question and trusting the show to be able to hold this question as well. So thank you for that. And before I even talk about the question, congratulations on getting married.
Thank you.
I think that's probably very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm also in grad school right now. So I've been with my fiance since college. So it's been over 10 years, actually. So I am very excited about it, but it is a lot of work to do. And I am also finishing my degree. So it's just a lot of things going on.
And then on top of that, shadowed by this question that you've brought to us. How do I handle this? How do I deal with it? And so let's explore it part by part.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't spoken to your father in how long? How long has the relationship been broken?
So I will say I still see him about once a year. It's usually when our nuclear family gets together for the holidays.
Yeah.
So we're in the same household. We're spending time, I guess, through meals and stuff, but I just don't really share myself about what's been going on with my life with him.
Does he know that there is something going on in the relationship, or does he think this is normal?
So I think for him, I don't know if it's broken, that he labels it as broken as much as this is just how it is and it's fine. As long as I'm not doing things that he doesn't disagree with, it's fine. I don't know if he's ever been interested, even throughout my whole life, in knowing how I feel, what I'm thinking of. A lot of it has always been more goal-oriented or action-oriented of what I do rather than how I feel.
So this seems key in understanding this, because if he thinks this is how it should be, if he thinks that's normal or fine, you not inviting him to your wedding is going to mark really a big moment of you saying, we're not fine, and I don't want you there.
Yes, exactly. And I will say, maybe this is for additional context. So he actually doesn't know the date of my wedding because he never let me have the opportunity to tell him. So again, when over the holidays, the rest of my family knew, we knew that it was not going to be a great conversation. And I geared myself, I thought, this is my attempt to be including of him and, have a dialogue with him. So I really framed it as like, hey, like next year, 2025, it's going to be a big year. There's all these things that are happening. And I kind of went through it chronologically, like, I want to finish my degree. This is what it looks like. Looking for a job. This is what it looks like. And as soon as I said something along the lines of, oh, well, so wherever we find a job, and I think that kind of triggered a lot of anger for him. And I think he knew where I was going with that conversation. So he was quite angry with it. He wasn't completely not supportive. And I don't know if it's the question of my fiance or me, because I don't quite understand where that anger comes from. Am I making a bad choice? Why does he think I'm making a bad choice? Is there just something else? Like he doesn't think I should get married in general? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a pretty big piece of information, right? It just seems like he's not supportive of your marriage.
Yes.
So let me ask you a question from sort of the other side. You have a dad who doesn't realize the relationship is fraught, or who at least doesn't acknowledge it. And you have a dad who doesn't approve of your marriage, or who has reacted with a lot of anger at the news or the idea of you getting married. Why is Natalie considering inviting him to the wedding? What is the part of you that says, I might want him there?
I think part of it is a little bit of like the kid in me wishes that, I had a more quote unquote normal relationship with my dad. Part of it is that if he doesn't really know my fiance, despite us dating for many, many years. He's actually never sat down and talked to him. So in my mind, I think, growing up, the things that he valued, education, the types of careers he values, that is very aligned with what my fiance does and has done. I always say I'm biased. I think my fiance is a great guy, but I think my dad would really enjoy talking to him. My dad's very intellectual. He's very interested in, science and engineering, math, like a lot of these like STEM fields, and my fiance is in that field. And I really think he would like my fiance, I think, quite honestly, but he has just never given it a chance. Maybe I'm hoping that that's actually the only reason why he's been so against this. And I think for me, maybe it's a little bit obligation as well. There's a little bit of sadness, I think, that to me, this is something that's going to happen once in my life, hopefully. And not having my dad there is very disappointing to me. And I think when I've gone to other weddings where, especially the dad of the bride, this has happened a couple of times where they've officiated the wedding or been very involved. And I always feel bummed out about it because I know that will never happen for me. But at least having him there, I think it means that he showed up, I guess, for me.
Yeah. Okay. Play with me here for a second. In your ideal wedding, what role does your father play?
So I don't personally want to be given away or walk down the aisle by my dad. But in my ideal version, he would attend respectfully, be sociable with, the guests. He himself has a good time. And obviously the wedding is a event, but he himself is not an event within it.
So in the ideal wedding, he shows up, he hangs out, he's there to support you. He doesn't get angry. He doesn't make any comments. He doesn't, quote, participate in any way that stands out. He's just sort of a comforting presence.
Yes.
When I say it like that, Natalie, what happens to you? What do you feel?
I feel so skeptical that could ever happen. I just can't imagine. Even another aspect I should also share is that he has never attended any of my graduations. He has for my brothers, but not for mine. And explicitly for my college graduation, he actually drove down, traveled a long distance. I don't know what really set him off, even to this day, but he decided not to attend. And the rest of my family did. I think in light of him not attending these big milestone events, I want him to be there at least for, this really big one. And I feel that if he hasn't before and he's not going to now, whatever milestone events there are while he's still alive, I think they're decreasing in number. I don't know if it ends up that he never attends any of these events for me.
Yeah. Yeah. That story about your graduation is heartbreaking. When he didn't attend your graduation, when he decided, for whatever reason that you don't even know, not to go, and he stayed at the hotel or went somewhere else while the rest of your family came, what happened to you?
For me, initially, I think I was like, oh, actually, it's better this way because there's no quote unquote managing of my dad. I can just enjoy this event. But then I think in the aftermath, I did wonder if my friends would notice or, then my boyfriend, fiance now, if his parents noticed, maybe there's a little bit of like shame. I think when I felt that way. And I think afterwards I was just hurt by it because he made this effort to come all the way down. He drove the whole family. And for him to ultimately not take that last step was pretty disappointing. And I think, at least for me, in my mindset, it helped me expect less of him. But I don't know if that's something I want to always expect.
Sure. Can I frame it this way and see if it fits for you? He came down, he drove the whole family down, and then when he didn't come to your graduation, and he put the shame in your head, all these questions about, are they going to notice? Are they going to see? Dad didn't come. He turned the whole graduation ceremony into something about him rather than about you.
Yes, that is correct. I actually had never thought of it that way. And I'm not someone who usually is like that, self-congratulatory. But I think in the face of him not coming and him disagreeing with some of my next steps after college, I had to really defend that graduation in and of itself was a great event, despite me not being completely solid on knowing what I was doing after graduation. And to be fair, I did not know for maybe only a couple of months, but I don't know if it was because he even attended some of the pre-graduation events actually. And he had talked to a lot of friends, I guess, who had already had plans. And it was that comparison, I think.
I just don't want us to justify in any reason why he wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Whether you had the next step or you didn't, or you knew, or other people, or he just decided to not show up. You don't even know why.
Yeah. I'm also the eldest in my family, so I always feel a little bit of obligation if somehow I can change my behavior, the outcome will be a little bit different, or maybe something will be more manageable.
I just want to think about, I always wonder if I can change my behavior, if I can change a little bit of something, and I'll have a different result, right? If I would have known, if I would have done this, if I would have done that, if I would have said this, then maybe he would have come, then maybe he would have been normal.
Yes.
But can you also see the part of you that says, graduation is pretty amazing. I achieved all these things, and that deserves to be celebrated, whether I have a job lined up or not, whether I know what's next or not. I've achieved these things, and I want to celebrate myself.
I have trouble with that phrase, celebrate yourself, or myself, I guess, because I feel that my achievements aren't just me, and that when there's celebration, it's with community. And in my mind, it's not just my friends, it's also family. So even though I have, a lifetime of examples that my dad hasn't shown up for me, I still want that.
Yeah. Yeah, I can totally see that. You're still hoping, if you do it right, if you do one more and he's there, that it'll sort of solidify and heal and bring together the things that haven't been brought together before.
Yeah, that's correct. And part of me, again, is skeptical because he's in his 70s. I always thought things would get better as I got older. But again, we've been stuck in this limbo where I stopped trying so hard, maybe in an expectation to see if he would reach out or do more, and it just hasn't.
And now again, for reasons unknown to you, he's reacted angrily. And so you start to think, oh, maybe it's because he doesn't know my fiance well, or maybe it's because of this, or maybe if I do that, then he'll come happily. You're back into that cycle of, if I can somehow figure out this puzzle, I can make him happy and he will act in the way that we want to, which is he'll come to the wedding, he'll not be a character, he'll just sort of enjoy and be present and be supportive.
That's really interesting how you phrased figuring out a puzzle, because I didn't think I was doing that. I thought, after a while, hey, I'm not trying so hard, or I'm not trying to change my behavior so much like I used to before. I didn't see the similarities between these two behaviors. Yeah, because even I thought if I presented all this stuff, the events of 2025 in my life, if I phrased it a certain way, things would be, somehow it would all be okay. And I really did not see the similarities between that and what had happened before.
If I say the right thing, if I put it in front of him the right way, he'll love it and he'll be in and he'll support me and he'll be the dad that I've always wanted. There's a word that I keep sort of circling about in my thoughts, and I wonder, I just want to check with you. When your dad doesn't show up at the graduation, and now you're hoping, your dad will get to know your fiance and really like him because they're both interested in STEM field questions and they could have really good conversation. Is there a desire, Natalie, that your dad will be proud?
Oh, yes. Oh, no. Man, it kind of sucks to say that, though, because in my mind, I've tried so hard in therapy to untangle all these things that I feel that I want to be better about myself, less anxiety that's stemmed from some of the trauma with my dad, less, catastrophizing. I think in a lot of those aspects I have, but I think that, oh my gosh, I feel like even saying being proud of me, it feels like I'm a child again saying that because, oh, I really don't like that. I really thought I've grown past that.
Yeah.
Oh, it really, yeah, because a lot of it in the childhood was like, it wasn't even just being proud, it was like, you approve of my choices and how I've done things. It's the same right now, even though it's been like 20 years since I felt that way, I feel like.
And it also seems to be sort of his main weapon.
Yeah.
It's the thing he keeps from you to make sure, in a way, that you continue to do what he wants.
Yeah. It makes me really sad because so many things have changed, yet I feel like in this aspect it hasn't.
Yeah. Some of those childhood wounds that we have remain sort of hooked onto us. And unless we see them and we work with them and we acknowledge them, it's really hard to get them unhooked. And they keep showing up. They keep showing up. These old stories that keep saying, when this happens, then I'll be happy. I'll be good. I'll feel successful. I'll feel complete. And I'm not saying your dad is doing any of this consciously, right? He could be reacting completely unconsciously and just sort of making some decisions from his stories, as you pointed out, of how a child should be, how they should respond to father or to mother. So he's acting a certain way, and you've learned from growing up with him to act a certain way as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think the reason why it didn't occur to me at all is that so much of my life, some of the big decisions I've made in the past few years have been very independent of this behavior of me seeking out his approval, him being proud of me. And so day to day, week to week, even month to month, it's not active, I would say.
But so if we go back to the conversation we just had, I'm just going to play with this. You said it was hard for you to think, celebrate myself, because it's a community achievement. And so we celebrate everyone who was able to help achieve, for example, graduation, right? If I say, can you be proud of yourself, of the things that you did and the hard work that you put in to achieve graduation? Can you find pride for yourself?
I think so. The class choices that I've made, the major choice, the actual doing of the homework, the tests, the studying, that was all me.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I can do that. I guess I'm just very aware of like other circumstances of, some of the opportunities I had as a kid were because of him, the way he fostered a certain environment, I guess, that valued education. So that's why for me, I'm very grateful for my parents for a lot of the things in my life. But I guess in terms of graduation, it can be both and situation. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. An and instead of an or. I feel proud at my achievements, and I can celebrate with my whole community, or I would like to celebrate with my whole community who made this possible, who helped me achieve what I did.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if I can move that phrase to the upcoming wedding.
Mm-hmm.
I feel really proud of what my fiance and I have built together and how we've created this relationship into something that I really like, where I feel supported, where I feel seen, where I feel accompanied. It's not the relationship that I saw my parents had when they were young. It's something that I've worked hard at to define and create, and together with my fiance.
I do resonate with that a lot.
Is a wedding a kind of graduation?
Yes, I guess You're in school learning a lot. And I think when you achieve a certain amount of learning, you feel that it's ready to go into quote unquote the real world or the next step, which, wedding is, marriage is the next step. So yes, I see that.
Right? Like there's a before and after in both, right? That's what I mean. Before you're a student, now you're a graduate. Before you're boyfriend, girlfriend, now you're husband, wife. You've taken sort of the official ceremony to officialize.
Yeah, there's a piece of paper for both. Yeah, and I think in that way, that is why I feel especially in relation, it's really important to do it in community.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what I'm realizing now throughout our conversation is that you might want to do it with all your community, but they don't necessarily want to opt in. Which in my mind, I always thought that was a given. I never thought that my dad wouldn't want to. I haven't phrased it that way. I thought he was just not supportive of me. But now talking about this, it seems like I can't force someone who doesn't want to opt in to be part of the community.
If you invite him and he decides that day to not show up or to make a scene or any of the possible scenarios, would that, one, make you feel like he's not proud of what you've built? And two, would that make the wedding about him and less about you and your fiance?
Yes. I think it would really derail at least my mental space, because it did for my graduation. And I guess that's why I'm wondering, maybe I shouldn't invite him then, not give him that open.
Let me ask you the second half of the question. If you don't invite him and you're there and you don't see him in the audience, is that going to make it feel for you like the wedding isn't complete, or like you did it wrong, or like this is somehow your creation, your fault?
Also, yes. I'm sure if I didn't invite him, then I could process it more beforehand and not feel so gutted versus him not showing up at all and I had invited him. I guess for me, it's the deciding it beforehand versus in the day of. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can't tell you, and I'm not going to tell you, you should invite him or not invite him. But I want you to sort of see the forces at play here. This desire for pride, to make him proud. This mechanism that he resorts to often to sort of remind you or show you or make you feel like he might not be proud. And so what I've tried to show you and what I've tried to play a little bit with during our conversation is, how can you find that pride yourself and not be waiting for him to give it to you? So that whether he's there or he's not there, whether you invite him and he shows up or decides not to, whether he makes a scene or not, that doesn't take away the pride that you feel and that you desire in this thing that you've created.
Yeah, I think it's definitely work. I mean, good thing is that I still have several months to work on this, to think about this. And I think if I can be more solidly on that, to find it within myself, I think this question becomes less looming, less big.
It's a tough conversation, and it's a little bit of work before your wedding.
Yeah, I guess especially that lens of being proud of what I've achieved. Yeah, even saying it like, oh, maybe you can tell I am not usually self-focused all that often.
All right, here, give me three. Three things that you're proud of that you've achieved or that you've done.
I think I have found really great people in my life. And I've been able to maintain and cultivate those relationships.
Great. Mm-hmm.
I think I've done a good job in my degree and my career, even though it is very tough right now and very stressful. I think I'm still doing a good job. Oh no, a third one. Okay. I am proud of being able to seek out really great food in whatever city I visit. I value food.
Yes.
So I like to do that and then organize gatherings around it. Yes.
Beautiful. We could even, did you brush your teeth this morning?
Yes.
Are you proud that you brushed your teeth this morning?
Yes. I also floss. So
yes.
Proud of that.
Yes. I want you to find all sorts of things to be proud of. They don't have to be these huge achievements that, I studied for 20 years and I'm now the most knowledgeable person in X, Y, or Z field. I want you to start to understand that just being you is worth being proud about.
Thanks.
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you for being this vulnerable and bringing this whole conversation into our lives. I think all of us can or should remember to feel proud of who we are more often. And I'm going to ask you, you don't have to answer, but if we circle back to the question that we began with, what are you feeling?
I feel like I've spent so much time focused on my dad, the potential fallout, the potential drama, how will the rest of the family feel. I think I've just focused so much on everyone else that I haven't even thought about how I feel or what I want to do. Because I think in the end of it, the wedding is so much of like, what do you want? What flowers do you want? What napkins do you want? What color do you want? That's so much of it that I just haven't really internalized that. Because that is, it is you and your partner in a wedding. So why am I focusing so much on everyone else?
That's beautiful. I think that's a beautiful place to land and a beautiful realization. Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you. I feel very illuminated by this conversation. I really thought this was more about logistics or obligations this happens a lot. I feel like you really do open up a lot of different aspects to than what, we come to you about. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for being here and bringing us this conversation. If you'll let me, can I ask when the wedding is?
It's end of September.
End of September. So we are end of April, mid-April, May, June. Maybe we can call you back end of June or beginning in July and we can have like a little 10-minute update.
Yes, that would be great. I also will have finished my degree by then, so I think I will be in a less stressed out mindset.
Okay, well, we can celebrate your degree with you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. This has been The Real Question. If you've been enjoying the show, you should check out the What Matters course that I co-teach at Not Sorry. It's a 7-month, small cohort, secular divinity school experience where you spend time discerning your values and thinking about how you want to apply them to your life. We also get to do 3 one-on-ones together, so we kind of have 3 conversations like you would have if you were on the show. Registration is open now for our next cohort, and the program starts in August. You can find out more at notsorryworks.com. Our show is funded through our Patreon at patreon.com/realquestionpod. If you're a regular listener, we would love your support. Another way you can support this show is by leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you're listening. Reviews help other people find the show, so please leave us a review. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Real Question Pod. We are always looking for more guests. Go to our website, realquestionpod.com, and submit your question. We will listen to it, and I would love to have you here to discuss it on air. We love to shout out our BFF tier patrons, Renee Underhill and Amanda Schramm. Thank you. We are a Not Sorry production. Our executive producer is Vanessa Zoltan. We are edited and produced by Ariana Nettleman. Music is by Nick Bowl. And we are distributed by Acast. Support for this show comes from the Fetzer Institute. Thank you, Natalie, for joining us today. And thanks, as always, to our wonderful team. Julia Argy, Nikki Zoltan, AJ Yaramas, Anissa Ahmed, Danny Langley, Courtney Brown, Casper Turkile, and Stephanie Paulsell. This has been another episode of The Real Question. Join us next week. I'll have another guest, I'll have another question, and I'll have another great conversation. See you then.